The Wyatt 6 is something, Bully, that we have talked about a lot. And last week I said I love the VHS segments, and I don't really love what they're doing live in the arena. And I think I still have that stance. But my stance is even stronger now. And I'm not hating. I'm still waiting to see. I'm interested. Like you said, when Chad Gable said he wanted to confront and wanted to call out, I was intrigued. But my statement from last week still stands. Even stronger, because what they did with the VHS segment was maybe the best one that they've had so far, which is saying something because I've loved all of them. But I still have the same stance when it comes to live in the arena. I'm still a little disconnected on what's going on in the arena. Your thoughts so far?
No, I want you to flush out your thoughts a little more. So, did you liked Rowan on the VHS tape last night? Yes or no?
Yeah, and let's dive in. Let's first dive into Rowan. So I thought it was the best segment so far. You mentioned about realism. There was a lot of realism into Rowan and what he was saying last night. Now, obviously, this is a character, an Uber character for the WWE's presentation of the Wyatt Six, but there was a lot of realism in what he said. So, Bully, why don't we go back to last night's Monday Night Raw and listen into that segment? Bully, that was deep, man. I mean, even listening back to it now, it's really deep. Almost like you feel uncomfortable, like you're listening into a private conversation that you shouldn't be listening to.
The part that really, really resonated with me was, and who's going to miss me? I'm only Rowan. Wow. Because when you think about it, in the scheme of things, was Erick Rowan really that big of a deal?
He wasn't the star of that faction at all.
And then when that faction went their separate ways and he was left on his own, what did Erick Rowan really turn into?
Not much. Honestly.
And then he left
just
the
being
WWE,
honest.
or they released him, and what did he really do?
Didn't make much of an impact.
And who's going to miss me? I'm only Rowan. That's deep, because that's real. It would be very easy for Erick Rowan to think that about himself, and he might have been thinking those exact thoughts once the Wyatts went their separate ways and once he wasn't with the WWE anymore. Now you have an opportunity to come back and talk about exactly how you felt during those times. And he says he was numb. When he said he was numb, I said, well, maybe he was medicated. Maybe he was, who knows what he was doing. I didn't want to feel better. I hit rock bottom. I was numb. Very deep stuff last night that I think teetered right on the edge of reality. Actually, I think it went over the line, over the edge of reality. Great stuff from Rowan. One of the things I don't like is, and this is not just for Rowan, but this goes for anybody in wrestling. If you're going to cry. If I see you get choked up, if I see you get welled up, I need to see the eyes get glazed. I need to see a tear come out. I truly believe that he got choked up last night, but I didn't see any tears. So don't hold them back. Let them flow. People will sympathize with you a lot more. People empathize with you a lot more. Erick Rowan is like 6'5".
He's huge.
300 pounds. I can tell you that is a big mother trucker I have shared the ring with on many occasions. You see a man that looks like that, a real life Viking right in front of you. You see a guy like that cry, you're like, whoa. You see a different side of them. So what I saw in that sit down last night with Rowan, and I loved the way they used the music. Did you hear the change in the music when they asked him how the mask made him feel? He used the word hope. And they switched from the ominous, depressing music almost to a tune of a little bit upbeat. Almost like when Adrian tells Rocky to win in Rocky 2 and you hear the bell ring. When he mentioned the word hope, you almost heard the music change and the bell ring. And it gave the entire promo a different feel. It almost felt like he had the music and the mask pulled Rowan up from out of the ashes, from at the bottom of the well, and made him realize who he was again. So
that's where it changed, and that's where it's, for me, that's where it changed to like, all right, here's the character, this is the story moving forward. That audio we played was about 3.5 minutes. The last 30 seconds was very character driven, but those first 3 minutes was very uncomfortable to listen to because it was so real. Like, he talked about how hard the last few years have been for him. I'm sure the last few years have been very hard for him. Then he talked about that he was used to having a family and then he lost a brother. And just like we hear from whenever we lose a loved one, what do people say? You got to be strong. Life goes on. He said he heard those things and he was able to recover, and then he lost another brother. Like, his world shattered once again. Like, listening back to that, I mean, Bully, that's as real could get. You talked about wanting realism. You can't get any more real than that. And, man, I saw that segment last night, Bully, and it really blew me away. I was talking about it with our producer, Paul, before the show. It's going to be very hard moving forward with the other characters. It's almost like maybe Rowan should have been the last character that they spotlighted on this because he's the most impactful character. Like, it's going to be really hard to really capture what we heard and saw last night with the other characters when it comes to the realism and the feeling. Because I don't know if you can ever get any deeper than you did with Rowan last night.
I understand where you're coming from. I'm going to reserve judgment, review, opinion until I see everybody else. I have a funny feeling Nikki Cross is going to absolutely knock it out of the park.
Okay. And you know what? You may be right.
If anybody has been dragged character-wise, and like, I think it's been Nikki Cross. And Nikki Cross has been through a lot during her career. Whether that was her struggle with weight and body dysmorphia or body image issues at the beginning of her career that she went out on social media and admitted. I just think there's a lot of depth to Nikki's story. I think when she tells it, I think it's going to be good. With the other two, we'll see, because we're not as familiar with the other two.
Yeah, I mean, as far as when it comes to this story with the Wyatts and everything, and listen, they may surprise us because so far, like I said, these VHS segments, Bully, I think they've really knocked it out of the park. And I think you're right about the sympathy factor. Like, even though when they debuted on Raw, it was a brutal segment and there was carnage, and we talked about, like, what are they going to be? Because they came across as heels, but Bray Wyatt was so loved, it's going to be hard to root against them. I think the way that they're going, you're going to feel sympathy and you're going to side with the characters, at least for now, and the story that's being told. But, man, well, you just hit the nail on the head. Production-wise, music-wise, and the realism of it and what they're doing with the characters, the VHS segments, Bully, I think have been a home run so far.